Well, good Friday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. Hope you've had a good week. Hope it's been productive. As we're getting closer and closer, guys, ladies, we're only a month away from the NFL draft. I don't know if you realize that. We are a month away from the NFL draft. Next weekend, we have the big autograph signing show in Chantilly, Virginia. We'll be there as well. I cannot wait to be there. We have a different mindset this year as far as the Cowboys go. It feels like there's a sense of urgency where, as I always say, we've autopsied the body and tried to figure out what we did wrong, what we did right, and try to figure out what we can do better. You know, I think actually the Dallas Cowboys may be a bit of a trendsetter because, you know, you looked at some teams that went out there and made major moves, literally fall on their face last year. You could look at Denver that thought that we got Russell Wilson with the core group of wide receivers we have. You know, we're going to be great. We're going to be, you know, this division is going to be a juggernaut, right? Didn't work. You could look at the Raiders that went out and said, we're going to get a great wide receiver. We got Devontae Adams. You know, we got other great offensive pieces here. You know, we're going to be able to put this thing together. We were a playoff team the year before. And having all of this firepower, it didn't work. It didn't work. And you kind of saw that throughout the NFL. The teams that were going crazy, grabbing the top talent in the NFL, the only one, and I have to give credit to them as much as I hate them, is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles, they did damage. They did amazing things. As much as I hate them, they did amazing things. So hats off to them. But they were kind of the only one. And I think teams are looking at this now differently because everybody kind of follows the lead of what works. For the Cowboys to get rid of and dump some of these salaries and things and all, and you start looking at it, and some of the things that they did actually were beneficial. They killed the Cowboys last year because of letting go La'el Collins and Connor Williams. La'el Collins, 1 year in to being with Cincinnati, a team that is offensive line needy, it looks like he's going to be released. So the Cowboys were ahead of the curve on that one. They recognized he's had a bunch of injuries. You know, he's not worth the amount of money that we're paying right now. And the future is now. We don't want to wait till he can't play anymore. We need to start making moves now. And that's where you look at and say, getting an undrafted rookie free agent, Terrence Steele, be it he's recovering from ACL, was a great move. We're talking about him, even with his second-round tender, being less than half of what La'el Collins was. And in football, you got to have some studs. And you have some guys that are bargain basement players that are playing like studs. So the Cowboys have gone through, and they've addressed the secondary. They've definitely tried to get better there. They've addressed the wide receivers with Brandon Cook and things. You looked at that, right? But the areas that I'm still really concerned with are still the lines, particularly the interior line. Now, we brought back, you know, Dante Fowler. That's the guy that they really liked and things out there. And we've always focused in on the edge rushers. But see, when I look at the Cowboys' failures in the playoffs, what always happens is we can't stop the run. We just can't. And it's really a lack of the Dallas Cowboys focusing in on that defensive line. You know, they're not sexy. They're not selling jerseys. You know, they're not, you know, getting their name called out. They do dirty work. They don't get a lot of numbers, but they are critical. There's no bigger cog in your team than that defensive front. And the fact that we had finally got actually a really good one, that we screwed the pooch with John Ridgeway, How the hell you draft that guy who talks about breaking heads and understanding his role, who actually was showing promise? Do you put him on waivers trying to make a little move, trying to get cute? And herein lies the problem for the Cowboys. Right now, Hankins apparently doesn't want to re-sign, or at least not re-sign for the money that Catboy is offering. He was really good for us in the trade we made for him. But we need him, and we need a lot more, because I've literally been here like a broken record that you get pound for pound, your biggest bang for the buck is the defensive line. Defensive interior linemen are your bread and butter. Because here's the thing. You can have great edge rushers that get upfield and put pressure on the quarterback, but if that quarterback can step up, they just get washed right on by. You've got to be able to control the pocket and be able to collapse it. You've got to be able to control those guards. You can keep those guards occupied with a great one technique guy taking on double teams. He's not going to make the tackle, but he's going to keep the linebackers' jerseys clean. They can stand there, survey the field, get that tight end coming out the backfield. Coming off the end. You can see the back coming and where the hole's going to go and fill and take off and get that tackle. The Cowboys always are going for more and more edge rushers and say, well, we can make edge rusher a tackle. No, you can't. It's not sustainable. Too light in the ass. You need the big nasties. And I hope that we start focusing in on that one. I love the fact that my Cowboys, and as of Joe the fan, we're never going to be satisfied until we get a Super Bowl. And they can do a whole bunch of things right, and we're still going to say, but you didn't do this. That's the nature of the beast. But they have got to take care of the lines, flat out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So let's check this out. Dan Orlowski talking about the Cowboys' changes this year. I'm curious. I have not seen this one. I'm curious to see his evaluation because, of course, Dan Orlowski is always right.
Jay Cornett, Jay Harris, and we are 1 week into NFL free agency. It's been a busy last few days for the Dallas Cowboys. Started on Tuesday with Dallas acquiring cornerback Stephon Gilmore from the Colts for a fifth-round draft pick. Gilmore started 16 games last season for Indianapolis and had 2 interceptions. The next day, the Cowboys released running back Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott spending 7 seasons in Dallas after the Cowboys selected him with the number 4 overall pick in 2016. And then yesterday, the Cowboys got Texans wide receiver Brandon Cooks in exchange for a 5th-round pick in 2023 and a 6th-round pick in 2024. Cooks caught 57 passes for 699 yards and 3 scores in 13 games for the Texans last season. And for more on the Cowboys, Dan Orlowski is back with us. Dan, what's your reaction to these moves, especially the ones that Dallas did on offense?
I think they're huge. Dallas has had a really good offseason. You can make the case the best offseason out of any of the teams in the NFC East. The Brandon Cooks addition matters. 1, vertical speed. This is something that their offense lacked a little bit last year. So him bringing that, Jay's also a walking 1,000-yard receiver. He's had 1,000 yards with Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson, Tyrod Taylor, Davis Mills, and all kinds of offenses. So different quarterbacks, different offenses.
Yeah.
So really important. And it allows CeeDee Lamb to thrive in his role, which is middle of the field operation. So a guy that's really good at his route running and with the ball in his hands. I do like the fact that they got rid of Ezekiel Elliott because it's time for Tony Pollard to become more of a feature in their offense. Now, Jay, Tony Pollard broke his leg in the playoffs last year, and the most carries he's had in a season are 193. So all these moves make me think that Dallas is ready to make an even bigger move. And that's why I look at Texas tailback Bijan Robinson, who's a guy that is incredibly difficult to tackle. People have referenced him to being a LaDainian Tomlinson type of player when it comes to running ability and pass catching ability. And I think about the Cowboys and I go 3 picks in the top 90. They sit at 26 in the first round. And there's this theory that taking a running back in the first round is automatically a poor decision by an organization. I think it's the difference. If you are a good football team, Dallas is, and you can add a dynamic offensive piece to your roster, tailback is still a fine piece, and it's actually better to get them and get as many carries out of them and
before you have
at
to
least
pay
the
them.
high level of their talent early on than it is later. So I look at them and saying, even though Pollard's a good player, because of the wear and tear, I like the addition of Bijan Robinson. And then you sit there and go, well, in the NFC, the only team that we feel unequivocally could be better than them is maybe Philly and San Francisco.
Speaking of, we got all the logos there talking about the NFC East. Elsewhere, as we look around with the Eagles, brought back several veterans, including center Jason Kelsey, on defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. The Giants, they signed quarterback Daniel Jones to a 4-year deal and used their non-exclusive franchise tag on running back Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
And the Commanders and defensive tackle Devon Payne reaching an agreement on a 4-year, $90 million deal. So which of those NFC East teams do you think has taken the biggest step forward this offseason?
Well, I just talked about the Cowboys a little bit, but the Giants.
Yeah.
We're talking about a team that overachieved last year. You mentioned Saquon Barkley coming back and then keeping Daniel Jones, whether you think he got overpaid or not. I like the fact that they kept Darius Slayton, who's a deep threat for them. They re-signed Sterling Shepard. But the reality is the Darren Waller trade is everything. You're adding Darren Waller to an offense that had Daniel Bellinger, a 4th-round draft pick at tight end last year. And I think they're going to live in what we call 12 personnel, which is one tailback, 2 tight ends. Daniel Jones is actually really good in that setting. Waller has to stay healthy. That's the biggest part of this equation, the trade, and my answer.
That's the only problem.
He's 2 years removed from having 90 catches and 1,100 yards. And I think of Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator for the Giants, and his time with the Kansas City Chiefs and their usage of Travis Kelce. Waller's got to play that role. And if he does, and he's capable of staying healthy, you look at a Giants team that has taken massive steps to keeping their own talent, but also bringing in really integral parts of different pieces of their offense. So a lot of teams in that conference or at the division have been good, but I think the Giants have really taken some steps forward.
All right, you've given Giants fans a lot of hope with what
They're going to be good again. They're really well coached, and they got a good roster.
All right, Shay.
All right, that's an interesting take right there. Okay, the Giants have gotten better. The Cowboys have gotten better. The Eagles are trying to hang on. So we'll see what happens with, as we go forward here. It's going to be interesting. It's been a little bit quiet the last couple of days, but I still feel like something is still possible. It may call me crazy, and people call me all kinds of things, but I still feel like Hopkins is still in play for the Cowboys. I still feel like with the price dropping, unless somebody comes up, if nobody goes for him for that 3rd-round pick, if he drops down to a 4th-round pick, I think the Cowboys have to kick the tires on that one. But we'll see what happens. As always, we'll be here bringing you the news. I've got some ghost in the machine for some reason. When I've been working over on that desk, I've had 2 videos that didn't have any sound. We will get that squared away so that way we bring you the best. As always, you know how we roll.
Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Sports Report.
We'll see you soon.